This is Little Sparkle. Welcome, everyone. We all are teachers. We know it's hard to educate our kids and make them face.
All right, and welcome back to Leave a Little Sparkle. I am your host, Julie Walker, and today I have somebody who is not a guest any longer. Welcome back, Christine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I guess everybody probably wants to know what does she mean not a guest anymore? And I don't mean not a guest because you've been on so often, but you have been on often. I mean not a guest because
I'm a new co-host.
whoop whoop.
Yes.
I could not think of anybody more brilliant to be my co-host.
Aw.
So, welcome to the Little Sparkle crew. And everybody welcome her. I know you guys love to hear when her and I have conversations. And I know it sounds like we haven't talked in forever. But her and I were just talking just like 10 seconds ago. So, this is just we're good at talking.
We are good at talking. And we don't even talk about what we're gonna talk about on the show. We just talk about other stuff. So
We literally talk about everything.
right.
I don't have anybody else in my life that knows everything like you do.
I know, like everything. But
It's
it's good to
funny.
have that type of person too.
Right, true. But it's funny because I saw a meme the other day, and I know this has nothing to do with education. We'll get into that soon, guys. But I saw a meme the other day that was like 10 seconds after you told me not to tell anybody, and it was this person running to their best friend, and I was like, accurate.
Yes. Yes, because it's like, don't tell anybody. Okay, I won't. Yeah,
You
okay.
mean don't tell anybody but my bestie?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, anyways, we are actually in season 4.
I can't believe that.
I know. So I started in February 2023, which is not that long ago, but when you do seasons of like 6 weeks at a time, we've actually made it to, so like, we had winter, we had spring, then we had summer, and now we're in fall. So we're in season 4.
I can't believe that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And the theme for this season, and I honestly have not thought about how long I want this season to go this time. But the theme for this season is what I wish you knew. And s- I I don't even think I explained to you what my thought process was for that, right?
No, you just told me the theme and that was it.
So you're probably like, what is she getting at? So, for those of you that don't know, because I don't know where you were, but um, maybe you missed one of the last episodes over the summer. I have been, what is that, not laterally. Um, I've been promoted, I guess is the way you can say it, even though I make the same amount of money,
Yeah.
to reading coach. And
Amazing. She's great. Awesome, by the way.
you have to say that because you're my best friend.
Well, you are. You're awesome.
Well, thank you. I sometimes I need to hear those things. Um, but in that promotion, it's really funny because oh, do you hear my watch telling me to go to bed?
And you're yawning, so
I'm
probably perfect
it's
too.
it's hard getting older. Um, we'll talk about that next. But yeah, so I got the promotion and even though like I said, it's a promotion when it comes to job, but it's also same amount of money and so much work. And I know for a fact because I've heard it. I will admit I have said it. What do they do? And I now realize that the grass is not always greener on the other side, and that there is so much going on behind the scenes that not a lot of people know. And so I'm not trying to make this about myself, but I realized through the process that um, people probably say the same thing about kindergarten teachers,
Hmm.
librarians, tech people, middle school teachers, Custodians. I know for a fact, I have heard people talk about every single one of those positions. Um,
Mhm.
from the Joe Schmo on the street that's like, "Oh, you're a teacher, you play with kids all day?"
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
yes. And so I really wanted us to like dive deeper into these different roles that people play and like what their job is and what their role is. And it's funny because like as people progress up, I feel like their job gets more stressful, but it becomes more about delegation.
Mhm.
Um and but when you're a classroom teacher, like you're kind of in charge of like everything in that little domain of yours.
Right.
So, yeah. uh,
And we saw it all the time, even being when we were paras.
Oh gosh. Yes. Yeah.
Because everybody's
Um
like, what did they do?
well, and before I was a para, I was even a tutor. So I feel like I started from way down here and I've worked my way up, and um I remember people I'd probably been at the school like 6 months tutoring kids in this little I mean, we were in a shack of a room. And I went out to their like luncheon that they had that day and they were like, "Who are you?" And I'm like,
Right.
"I'm the tutor that's down the hall in the room." And they were like, "Oh, we didn't know you existed."
Yes. And see, to me, that's like such a sad thing because it's like, oh, well, yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, okay, so shout out to Polk AmeriCorps Reads. They're the ones I started with as a tutor, and it's really cool because they pay for you to go into the schools and you like pick up kids and you work with them for about 30 minutes at a time, starting from kindergarten up. It's a really good resource if you're able as a school to apply for them to come out. Um, but yeah, so when I say I started as a tutor, like it was a whole program that went through the school and we had our own little classroom. And they paid for our supplies and they trained us and but I made like pennies, but I made money to go to school and that was my whole point in that job. So, I
That's
mean,
awesome.
yeah, I got like I think it was like 2,000 per year to go towards my college tuition.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it wasn't anything to, like, scoff at. It also was not a huge paycheck, though. It was, like, 6 to 7,000, I wish, 6 to 700 a month, which,
That's like,
back
sign me
then
up.
right
Yeah.
listen, I would have stayed if it was that much because it was also so stress-free, like, we didn't have walkthroughs, we didn't have people breathing down our neck, it was literally like, "Here's your little sheet, you go pull the kids, bring them in here, tutor them for 30 minutes, take them back, take 10 minutes to write down what you guys worked on, and then go pull the next kid." So, honestly, it was like it was a breeze,
Yeah. That's awesome.
but nobody knew we were there except for the teachers we worked with, so
Right?
and I know okay, so, like, you and we've probably even heard people say, like, "Oh, you're a teacher. It must be fun."
Get the summers off.
Oh, yeah. You get great medical, you get the summers, you get every holiday off. Um, yeah,
And we deserve it.
110% deserve it. But I don't think people even understand why we deserve it. Like,
Right.
so, okay, go through a typical day in kindergarten for me, please.
So I like to describe kindergarten, especially the first 9 weeks. It's like herding cattle. So they're like everywhere.
Feral cats.
Yes, they're
And I can say
everywhere.
that because I'm a mom of a kindergartner.
Yes. Imagine having 19 other ones or 20 in one classroom. So,
Yeah. No, thank you.
but a typical day would normally be, how should I put this? It's not the same every day. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what the kids are going to tell you. P.S. If you don't want, your kid's kindergarten teacher knowing everything, you might, not want to tell your kids certain things because they come to school saying,
Tell
random
them
stuff.
nothing.
Yes, because they will tell us in the most weirdest times during a math lesson. Oh, Mrs. Parker, my mom. Okay, baby. No, don't tell me because I'm sure your mom does not want me to know.
Oh,
So,
man. I had
but
a 6th grader do that one time.
yes, and they pick the weirdest times.
Yeah.
The weirdest times. Most inconvenient times too, especially if you're getting a walkthrough or something.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oof. That
And
would
of
be
course
rough.
they have a hard time sitting down. I know you were in my room today actually when my kids, with scissors, like hello, we don't run with scissors.
Listen, you are a brave woman, okay? The amount of scissors and what they were doing with those scissors, I was like cringing.
That's why they don't keep scissors either with them. They keep it in the container. Put it in the container because you're not keeping it. You never know what they're going to cut.
And some of them, I was like, oh, you poor baby, you cannot cut a straight line.
No, and like they cut into little bitty pieces, and I keep telling them, no, your thumb goes up towards the ceiling, the sky, guys, and they just
Is it hard to teach them to cut when you're left-handed?
Yes,
Ooh, I
it
think
is
that's not either.
because of course they're not holding the scissors correctly, and it's like you're trying to teach them. Oh, wait a minute, hang on, let me come around. And then I got to think like, okay, wait a minute, you're right-handed, not left-handed. So let's try this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with like anything because I'm left-handed. So trying to teach him how to hold a pencil, and it's like, okay, wait, no.
Have you ever noticed kids like watching you and going for the left hand?
Yes, and actually, it's like you just look at him and it's like, you're not left-handed, you're right-handed.
So you can tell.
Yes, you can
Okay.
just by the way that they pick it up. And it's
Mm.
like, oh, wait, no, baby, you're right-handed. I can tell. Because, like me, I pick it up. It's like, that's not natural. So,
Right. Okay. So, anyways, sorry, I interrupted your story.
no,
You
you're good.
started with scissors today, and I glutton for punishment. So,
Oh, yeah, no, it's just chaotic. You never know what you're going to get in kindergarten.
yeah.
Every day is different.
Yeah. So there is no real typical day then, right?
No, every day is not the same. At least that's what's fun about kindergarten. You never know what you're going to get.
So I don't know if I told you this story, but I have a poop story with your class.
Oh my God. With my
So
class. That doesn't surprise me.
I have had the amazing time of being able to go into Christine's class, and I'm trying to support them however best I can, and it seemed like, okay, let me do some push-in because me planning a kindergarten lesson may not be the most effective thing, you know? So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I can watch the kids. So I went in and I was able to successfully do this one time. That tells you a lot about my job, but um I was reading a story. Um I think it was like Mark Munches.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm reading the story and I was like, Mark munches, and there was like a banana, and I said, what is he munching? And they were like, bananas. I was like, okay, cool. And then I went to the next page and I was like, Mark munches, and it showed another page of food. And I said, what is he munching on now? And
Oh my God.
poop.
Oh my God. See what I mean? You never know what you're going to get.
And I was like, I wanted to ignore it, right? Like, I'm just gonna ignore this.
No, they let it be known. Trust me.
Oh yeah. No, I think there was a little girl in the front. She's a little bossy, but I like
Yeah.
it. She's a little feisty. I'm like, I see myself in you. Anyway, she goes, did you hear what he said? I was like, yeah, and we really shouldn't eat poop.
Oh my God. That's my life. See, my life. You never know what you're gonna get. Any story, they just pop off with the most random stuff. Just you never know.
It was pretty hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. And I think the worst part was like, okay, like, yeah, we probably shouldn't eat poop. And I wanted to like move on. And they were all like, poop. Oh gosh.
And then
Okay,
we
guys,
talk about that for like 20 minutes, and it's like,
yeah.
hello.
Yeah. Everything was poop in the book then. And I was like, well, you missed the point, but okay.
Welcome to kindergarten.
And I was like, how are you supposed to teach comprehension when they're looking at the book thinking that everybody is eating poop?
I know. Could you imagine though, like if like I was getting a walkthrough or you what are you reading? Oh, about poop.
I think I would hope at that point that the walkthrough turns into like, well, she handled that well.
Right?
Oh man, let me look at these focus boards one more time instead of looking at the kids.
Right.
I can't. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I hadn't had a chance to tell you that story. That was fun.
That does not surprise me at all.
I just hope that they learn that poop is not something to talk about constantly.
Right.
Oh man. But okay, so now that everybody knows that kindergartners talk about poop and literally everything else that they probably shouldn't talk about, I think the most surprising thing for me that I realized that I didn't know when I was in my own classroom, but like now I see it because I see your room and I'm in and out, is just the impulse control that never occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a kid thinks it, they do it.
Yeah.
And there's one of you and 20 of them, and I cannot even imagine. Like, you have to be on. You have to be watching every single little move the entire time you're in there.
Right.
And
Yes.
that has got to be exhausting.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Because I never sit. Like, if you see me sit, like, I'm tired. But, like,
Yeah.
I'm constantly going in between the tables, looking at them because their little fingers get everything. It's like, oh, and then I just give them that look and, they'll put it down because they already know, like, hello.
You've got the mom look down pat. Like, I mean, we're like, "Ooh, somebody's in trouble." But
Right. And they know they don't even have to be like, what? They just put it down, like, okay, yeah, she's serious.
yeah. Yeah. Oof. I mean, I like the way you have them set up though, because like you can't, like, they have their own space, so you really can see what they're
Yeah.
doing,
Right.
But yeah, I just, oh my gosh, at least like in the higher grades, and I don't think people really know this too much, but in the higher grades, we do whole group, maybe 10 to 20 minutes of each class. And that's like third, fourth, fifth, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then we work primarily in small groups because we can trust the kids to go read something. Like we're watching them, but we're not having to like circulate the whole room the whole time, right?
Right.
You guys don't get that break, like, ever.
Mm-mm.
Even if you were doing small groups, I would imagine you're still having to like take a break and go check or like really just be on top of them.
Right. That's kind of why I moved my table the way it is because I can see them like, but yeah, all the time. Because you never know. And it's like, oh, well, I think that they can do this independently. And then you look over and they're doing something totally different. It's like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, like today with the scissors, you were trying to help a kid out, and then the other teacher was walking around, because you have some supports in there, walking around collecting the little tiny pieces of paper they had cut. And this kid gets up and starts dancing around holding his scissors, and I freaked. I was like, "Don't run around the room with your scissors!" And I was like, "I'm supposed to be quiet, but I can't help myself." Oh, my Lanta, just insanity.
Yes. That's why, like I said, never know what you're going to get. And I know, actually, I think I'm the only teacher that collects scissors.
Really?
Yeah, everybody else just lets them keep it. I'm like, nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah. I mean, and I do know you have to ease up You gotta let them become independent, but, like, these kids are not thinking through anything at this
No.
point. I feel like
No.
it's a little early to, like,
Right.
independence.
You don't start seeing that change normally until after Christmas.
Really.
Mhm.
What about okay, here's another one I don't think anybody knows about. You had 4-year-olds starting the school year,
Yes. I had a
and
couple.
I mean, I'm sure by now they've all turned 5, right?
Yeah, the cutoff was September 1st.
Yeah, but we start school the beginning of August.
Mhm.
So you had a couple 4-year-olds in your room when
I
the
did.
school year started, which is I mean, you gotta think developmentally, that is so different than a kid that's been 5 for 6 months.
Right. Yep, because actually I had two that have also turned 6.
Wow.
So, and then, then those other two just turned 5. So it's like you're a whole year behind, and you know, you can tell that they're young.
Yeah, and I feel like and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just I don't know, but I feel like if you are not 4 or not 5 by the time the school year starts, that should be your cutoff because there really is a huge difference
Mhm.
developmentally just in that couple months range.
Right. Oh
Like
yeah.
I remember seeing a huge difference in Xander not long after he turned 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's insane and crazy.
Yes.
Is there anything else that maybe people don't realize or know about kindergarten?
So, kindergarten, your mommy, your daddy, your nurse.
Oh, yeah, the poop stories may explain that a little bit. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like everybody. Mommy, daddy. I don't ever hear Mrs. Parker much. It's always teacher. Even though we
Mhm.
go over 1,000 times, what's my name, Mrs. Parker? And then like 2 seconds later, teacher. Let's try that again. You have to go over things like 1,000 times with them. Doesn't
Mhm.
mean they're gonna remember.
And I mean, yeah, which is so funny to me because we're trying to get them to memorize like sight words and letters and sounds and their poor little brains.
And I have mastered walking backwards.
Oh, yes. Yes, you have. I've seen that.
Because you gotta be on it. Because if not, you turn around for like 2 seconds. He touched me.
Mhm.
Yeah. So.
And I'm sure it's like having just a bunch of brothers and sisters in the room all at once because like
Mhm.
the arguing, the bickering, and they're in my space and they're doing this and they're doing that. And yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Especially, I only have 8 girls and 11 boys. So.
no way. I haven't
Or,
sat down and counted it. That's
right,
crazy.
12 boys. Sorry, 12 boys, 8 girls.
Boy heavy classes are hard.
Hmm.
They really are. Like girls tend to keep it together during lessons.
Yeah.
Boys tend I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. Like boys are just rambunctious.
Hmm.
Yeah. But, like, girls are on it because they wanna
Right.
write and they wanna learn how to do the pretty handwriting but boys are like, "I could not care less."
Yeah, they don't care. They play around. They do everything than what they're supposed to be doing.
The developmental differences between the 2 is actually kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
It's like you have a little know-it-all in your room. I love her.
I know
I
exactly
l
what you're talking about.
Yep,
Just
I
every day I
love
have to
her.
tell her.
Oh my gosh, I love her to death. That girl, she's got some sass in her,
She
but, she wants to keep everybody right and ready, okay?
Yeah, I like to call her the mama of the classroom
Oh,
because she does. I mean, somebody does something wrong, like that's another thing. Kindergarten, they tattle on the littlest things,
I can't even
and,
imagine.
and you tell them, okay, you go over a difference between tattling and telling 1,000
Oh.
times, and then you tell them, are you tattling or telling? Oh, I'm telling. No, you're tattling.
Oh
You're
my
tattling, not telling. Nobody's hurt. Matthew McConaughey is not walking through this door, so
right?
don't interrupt the lesson.
Oh, let me tell you a Matthew McConaughey story. So last year Last year I told my 5th graders that because I was so tired of them like coming up to my table during small groups. I'm like, "You are in 5th grade, you know better. Is Matthew McConaughey walking through that door?" And they were like, "Miss Walker, who? Excuse me? You don't know the world's prettiest man in the world?" And they were like, "How you spell that? McCona what?"
Oh,
Because at this point they already had their devices, and I was like, "I'm not answering this. Just know that unless it is a major issue, quit, interfering." So I had a kid go home and ask their parent who that was, and they looked him up, and he comes back the next day and he goes, "Miss Walker, what? Why on earth do you think Matthew McConaughey is good looking?"
oh my
And I was like, "Because he is." Like, I was trying to justify. He's like, "He is way too old for you, Miss Walker."
oh my gosh.
And I just
I
looked at
love
him and I was
kids.
like, "How old do you think I am?" Young enough to know better. But okay. Touche. Thank you. So so I changed it to Ryan Gosling, which they probably all know who he is now if they've seen the Barbie movie. So
Right?
yeah. But yeah, the interruptions
That's
are
That's hilarious. And don't
yeah.
ever, when you said about age, don't ever ask a kindergartner how old you are.
Oh,
It's
I know.
like
I'm
70, 80. What?
Xander goes up and down. Like one day he'll be like, "You're 6." The next day you're 65.
I know. It's like, no. I know I got gray hair going on, but no. Not even close.
He's so funny. And I think he thinks that your height has to do with your age.
Oh, jeez, I would be in trouble.
Because, okay, if there's anybody who's taller than me, they're automatically older than me. And I'm just like, "Okay, that works for me because I'm short, so I'll be young
Right?
forever."
Right?
It's
That's
hilarious.
funny.
Kindergartners are just funny. I mean, they're just funny.
They are funny. Like I said, you never know. Every day is different. It's not the same.
Mhm. I don't know how you guys keep straight faces. Like, we sit at home and just constantly laugh at the things that come out of Xander's mouth.
Trust me, I want to. Sometimes I have to turn around and it's like, do you think that's funny? Because it's not. And then inside me, it's like, yeah, that kind of was actually really funny.
Oh, and Xander's new thing, I have no idea where he picked this up. He goes, "Oh, brother." And I'm like, "Did somebody say that in class? Because it's everything you say is 'oh, brother.'"
That's too funny.
It
Who
is funny.
knows? He probably picked it up somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah.
He's hilarious, though. So, yeah, kindergarten's a whole new breed. Um, so is coaching. We're gonna save the update on coaching for another night, or another episode where it's night when we record. People don't know that probably. But yeah, I'm super stoked that you're gonna be my co-host.
Me too. I was honored you asked me.
Well, I mean, could I ask anybody else?
Right? I think our conversations, though, I mean, we could talk forever.
Oh yeah. Oh, we just come up with stuff. And this is how I think our best thinking is done. I think that's how we are as people. Is like when we're talking, we kind of think through and like I don't know the right word for it. Like I sound like one of those teeny boppers uh, but I don't know. We like do our thought like we think through it. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, we process everything.
That's
And,
the word.
and we even do that off camera, even in our normal daily lives. That's how
Oh
we
yeah.
do things. Our whole conversations are like that.
Yeah, you're my soundboard.
Yes.
Yeah. So, the whole idea for this season is that we're going to reach out and we're going to find some people to interview, and we'll both interview them and see what it is that they wish people would know about their job and maybe like bring to light some of the things that maybe other people don't know about their job. Um, And I actually, while I'm sitting here thinking about it, some of the things that people don't understand about teaching in general, like I'm not going to get into the coaching part, but in teaching, is the paperwork behind stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you have a student, Christine, that you think needs help, what's that process?
You saw that big old binder.
Mhm.
So,
And I applaud your binder.
thank you.
Yes.
So if a kid needs extra help, like you said, there's a lot of paperwork. First of all, you have to test them to figure out exactly where it is that you need to start. So like obviously for kindergarten, it's going to be a lot easier than it may be in the other grades, because usually kindergarten it's always letters and letter sounds, because that's of course where you got to start, because that's how you
Right.
learn to read.
Yeah.
So that's always obviously where I start, and then gradually if they get better, then you got to go into the blending and the segmenting, CVC words. So you just kind of,
Yeah.
but the
Learning
biggest
to read
thing,
is not just picking up a book and sound it out. They have to learn the
right,
parts to be able to sound it out.
right. And just like actually I had it's not here what people should know, actually had a conference with a parent the other day, and she's like, yeah, my son's on a second grade reading level. I said, yeah, I agree, he's a really good reader. I said, but his comprehension isn't quite where it should be yet. I said, he's in kindergarten. And she's like, well, I read a book to him and ask him questions, he knows. I said, right, that's listening comprehension. But if he picks up a book and reads it independently, he can't tell me what the story is about. And she didn't know that there was a difference between listening and reading comprehension. I said, oh, 110%. There's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's so many parts to learning to read and understanding it that it's funny because I think a lot of people think, oh, they go to school and they read a book and they answer questions, read a book and they answer questions. They have no idea the thought process behind what the questions are, right?
Right.
Like they don't realize that I have to look at a benchmark that says this kid needs to know why the author chose to write this article.
Right.
I mean, that's a hard concept for an adult, much less a kid. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just read and answer questions.
Right. So yeah, but to answer your question, it's the process to start would be to focus on, the letters and letter sounds, and and there's a lot of data that you have to show, especially if a kid is retained, because it's a big process.
Yeah. Well, you have to show that they did not make progress at all year.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You have to document every time you meet with that kid. You have to document every time you assess that kid. You have to
Mm-hmm.
document every conversation you have with a parent. And it has to be on paper and online because you never know what's going to happen online. Um, and just the sheer amount of conferences alone, because conferences don't happen during the school day, do they?
No. No.
Those are happening outside of school hours, and I hate that. I wish that it didn't have to be that way, but that's the world we live in, right?
And that's another thing that parents don't understand. It's like, well, I work. What do you think I'm doing?
Right. We work too. And when you're asking us to stay until 6 p.m., we're really working overtime.
Right. And not getting paid, like the average job you would get overtime. Not us.
Yeah. And so let's go ahead and dispel this myth then too. Um, we work 10 months a year. We
Mm-hmm.
get paid for 10 months. The money we're getting over the summer is not free money. We
No.
worked for it. Somebody
Mhm.
took part of our paycheck and put it in a savings account, which I don't even know how that's legal, but that's what they do. And
Yes.
then they give us portions of it throughout the summer to be able to pay us.
Right. And
There
that's
are,
how we get paid for Thanksgiving and
Mhm.
Christmas and
Yep. We're not just getting those times off. They're giving the kids that time off.
right.
but you know, we're getting paid for that through our holdback.
Right. Yeah, and a lot
So
of people don't see, oh, well, you get paid. No, not really. It's money I've already earned.
and I did some research. There are some counties that don't do it that way. They give you what you earned for that 10 months and then they offer you things to do over the summer to make more money. Or they just ask that you like, here's your money, do what you with it what you will. Some people get other jobs and some people save their own money, which I kind of like that idea because then I could put it in a savings account that I'd make interest on, but
Right. I like that idea too. And I know my dad, when he taught up in Indiana, that was a choice he got to do. He could get paid all through the summer or I'm sorry, or just for the 10 months.
yeah. Well, and we all think that, the grass is greener in a different area, but it may not be. So while something looks and sounds like a great idea in theory, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But edit that out too. Okay. So, I'm just saying these are things that people don't realize. And I feel like, if I were to be looking into the education field again, I would want to know the ins and outs. I want to know the good, bad, and the ugly. Because some of this stuff was we just figured it out as we went.
Right. Yes, very true. Yeah, they
I don't
didn't teach
know.
you in college.
No, I tell people this all the time. What you learn in college is how to BS your way through a paper, but
Yes. And the lesson plans, uh, oh my
we
gosh.
did what, 30, 40-page lesson plans back then
Yes. And now I have like, my lesson plans are like 2 pages.
for a whole week.
Right. Yeah, for a whole week.
And our lesson plans were like 30, 40 pages for a lesson.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was insane. Well, and they had us writing them in a way that, like, if a sub were to pick it up, they could read what needed to be said and, like,
Right.
literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not doing that now.
Right.
So, yeah. I I did like it because it made me think about things, but it never prepared me to look at a standard and decide what that standard was telling me to do.
Right. And that's
It-
really what they should be teaching you.
yeah. And I mean, things are always going to change and you can't like change your curriculum constantly. But in the field of education, when standards and benchmarks change every 3 years, it
Exactly.
probably, yeah, it probably would be a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, friend, we're coming to the end of this lovely episode and we will be back next week. And we're gonna dive deeper into somebody's position. Um, I'm gonna be real with you and say this job is kicking my behind, and my creative juices are not quite flowing at the moment. So we're tired, but we enjoy doing this, and so we wanted to bring an episode to you guys. And I thank you so much for listening. Like I said, we're going to bring somebody to you. We're going to dive deeper into this crazy world of education. I want to get as many different positions as possible to talk to. So, how you feel about it, Christine?
I like it, because we've talked about this before. Like, we never know what other people are going through, what they do. It's like, oh, well, they're just a janitor. No, they're not just a janitor. They keep our school clean. Like, there's other parts to what people do that we don't see. So I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to I really looked at putting things into perspective. And if I was in somebody else's shoes, how would I feel and what would I think? And I think if the world started doing that a little bit more, we would have a really compassionate, empathetic world and people would be a lot happier.
Right. I agree.
So if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Teachers Pay Teachers is rocking and rolling. I've got sources out there for all different grade levels. We will be uploading an episode every Friday for now until we decide we're not going to for season 4. And check out all of the social medias, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and leave a comment or like this episode if you love the fact that Christine is on board as a co-host. And we thank you. We love you. Subscribe, like things, and we'll see you next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.